Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Fabio and this is the Fab View. I am here today to talk about the seleção. National team of Portugal is about to start their World Cup campaign in 2026 and I'm here to talk to you about some hot takes around the national team, some takes around what is the sphere around the national team in this World Cup, the past, the present and the future, and how I see this team pan out at the end, hopefully with that amazing gold and green trophy. Let's go. All right, let's talk about the weight of expectations around the seleção. I think we look at this national team and it's a stacked team, first of all. Then, and I'm going to go into that in a second, how the season ended for a lot of the most prominent players in the team. But let's go back a little bit to 2022. I think 2022 was 2 years too late for Fernando Santos to leave. New generation of players. Fernando Santos had 2016 and 2018. And frankly, he should probably not have been in the national team in 2022, but he was. And Portugal ends up having a okay performance, losing against Morocco. Not acceptable to me. We should have beat Morocco back then, and the fact is we didn't. However, there were some benefits from this World Cup. A lot of the base of this team and the base of this group of athletes that are currently with the national team was put together in that World Cup. And it's more or less a little bit, we talk a lot about the storming, norming, and performing phases of psychological sports, and that was the storming phase. That was the phase where people came together. Nobody really knew their roles. Ronaldo still she was in a massive pedestal, but a lot of people maybe thought he shouldn't. There was a lot of conflict around the seleção, and that was the moment where Fernando Santos doesn't deal with the situations properly. Is removed. Somebody else comes in Martinez. A manager that is a consolidator in the psychological side, it seems to me, and he got everybody together. People started understanding their roles a little bit better, and we get into 2024 in a much better position. We go all the way to the quarterfinals. We end up losing against France in a game that we probably should have won in 90 minutes, but we didn't because we couldn't score a goal. That's just a fact. And we ended up losing in penalties. In that moment, as you know, penalties is a little bit of a Russian roulette, and we lost. Nothing. I don't think there's anything to be disappointed in or ashamed of that performance. A little bit of disappointment because we kind of felt, and I think it's generally the consensus of any Portuguese fan, that we could have done better based on how we were performing. But again, experience, forming stage is going through now, and now it's the performing stage. Now we get into the phase where we go into the Nations League and we beat Germany and we beat Spain to win it. And straight away, I think the phases are aligned and we get into the epitome of the so far route with Martinez, where we go from forming it to now performing. We are doing well. The players know their roles, know their responsibilities. Everybody kind of knows where they're going to be and how they fit into this group. And ultimately, we won the Nations League, beating the now and at the time already European champion Spain that everybody was gloating in about, and for very good reason. A very good team, but we beat them 2-1, also going 1-0 down in that game. So really good. And now we come into this World Cup, cruise through the qualifiers. What we didn't cruise was the last couple of games, but we never really were in a massive problem, and we put it away fairly evenly and easily. And now we get into the World Cup, and this is why I think a lot of people look at Portugal as the favorites, because we are building momentum up until this World Cup, and we have a group of players that is quite good. We look at 4 Champions League winners in Nuno Mendes, Vitinha, and João Neves, also with Gonçalo Ramos, obviously less impactful Gonçalo. We look at players like Bruno, who was Premier League Player of the Year. We look at Ruben Dias, who didn't have the best season, but comes in fresh, fully recovered from his injury, and in a situation where he is hopefully going to perform well and perform deep into this playoff. You look at Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper, for me the best goalkeeper we've ever had, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. But a goalkeeper that is on the mouth of the world and potentially going to be sold this year from Porto. Phenomenal. For me, top 5 in the world, no debate there. You look at the fullbacks with Nuno Mendes and Cancelo, phenomenal, but we have on the bench several options as well. as well. You look at the midfield, for me, the best midfield in the World Cup in terms of possession moments. So there is a lot to be optimistic about it, and I can understand why people would think that Portugal is the favorite to win this World Cup, or at least a favorite to get really, really far into this competition. And I agree with that. Right, now let's start and dive into the biggest debate around this national team, which is Ronaldo. Ronaldo is obviously, it will always be until the day he hangs his boots, and probably after that as well, on the Ronaldo-Messi debate for the GOAT. It is always involved in some kind of question mark or whatever. And at this moment in time, at 41 years of age, the question is, should Ronaldo start? Should Ronaldo not start? I know my opinion. I'll give it to you in a second. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a hot take because I know that many people wouldn't agree with me. But I have a very strong opinion about this topic. However, I will start with the other side, which is a lot of people think that Ronaldo should start on the bench, give the starting position to Gonçalo Ramos, and have Gonçalo with his characteristics of high press and a player that really works hard against defenders, potentially can score a goal inside the box, etc., to really, really, really grind defenders, and then bring in Ronaldo with fresh legs, with 20 minutes, 25 minutes to go, to play 25 minutes or more with extra time, injury time, and potential extra time in the knockout stages. Ronaldo, that will be fresher against defenders that are less fresh. And I tell you what, it's a great idea. And I will tell you later why I wouldn't do that, or why I would do that as well. But now I'll give you my take. And I have to give you a bit of history as well. I was born in 1990. I was obviously raised in football and family in football and all that stuff. And I played for a long time. Now I coach and manage. There is a Portugal before Ronaldo. There is a Portugal after Ronaldo. There is a clear divide. Before Ronaldo, Portugal was never favorite for anything. Don't kid yourself. I know the idea of now Portugal, big team. Portugal had amazing players in the past. Figo, Rui Costa, Costinha, Fernando Couto. I can go on and on and on. Pauleta. I can go on and on and on about these players. Unbelievable players. Won several youth competitions, including a World Cup with those players. However, never were they thought to go and win it all the way until Ronaldo showed up. And in 2024 is the first time that Portugal is the favorite. We play at home, and unfortunately we lose 2 games in the Euros, for those who don't know. First game against Greece for the first game of the knockout. First game of the group stage. Then we end up beating Russia and Spain, go through, beat England, beat Netherlands, and all games we beat every team quite convincingly. First game, Scolari at the time changed half of the team, and we ended up winning all the games. And then in the final, we lose against Greece. I know that Vas is grinding a smile right now watching this video because he's a Greek. But they won, and Portugal has the biggest disappointment, I think, of my generation in terms of not winning something in the Euros. But that was the first time, in my view, that Portugal was really considered to be favourite on anything. Then we go into 2006, and Portugal is one of the favourites again, with a stacked group of players, including Ronaldo entering his prime. We go and finish fourth, beat a lot of teams on the way to fourth to the semi-finals, and then lose against France with a penalty. I believe Henry wins the penalty and Zidane puts it away. Massive disappointment. Again, the feeling was we could beat that team, but we didn't. Then we go into a period where Portugal goes down quite significantly. The generation of Figo, Rui Costa, etc. goes out of the window, and the new generation saw some players leaving as well, those intermediate players. And we went through a period where we had to go through playoffs to go into World Cup and Euros. It was difficult, and Ronaldo absolutely carried us into some tournaments. I will tell you, the Brazil in 2014, we get there out of the back of Ronaldo through two games against Sweden, where Ronaldo scores an hat-trick to absolutely annihilate Swedish hopes to get into the World Cup, and we punch the ticket. Unfortunately, Ronaldo goes into the World Cup injured, and we don't go past the group stages, which at the time Paul Bento, which was a real shame. But to be fair, we didn't have a very good team. And then comes in 2016, which, again, not the best squad I've ever seen in Portugal. A dreadful group stage where we pass in third for the first time, third places could go through, and we go through with an hat-trick from Ronaldo once again against Hungary, and we go in third place. We then end up beating Croatia in the extra time after a goal from Quaresma in the last minutes, I think the last 2 or 3 minutes of the extra time. And then we go all the way to beat Wales, a very good performance on that game, and then we beat France. And it was the best moment I've ever lived as a fan. I've seen Benfica win a lot. I've won a lot, fortunately, and a few titles as a player, but then also as a manager, and now at youth level, and now nothing surpasses the moment. I was in England. I remember exactly where I was, and I remember picking up the phone and crying with one of my best mates on the phone, who was in France at the time as well. Just crying, not saying anything, just crying, because it was such a proud moment for any Portuguese, a nation on the western side of Europe with 10 million people, such a small country compared to all these juggernauts, and we went all the way to win. With Ronaldo being injured midway through the game, that criminal Paye, and we still win it with a player in Eder that played 0 minutes up until that point and scores a goal, and we end up winning. So in France as well, made it even better. So then that entire history brings me up until this point. And I'm not going to talk too much about 2022. I think it was too much controversy, and Fernando Santos did not dealt well with the situation at all. But I look at this World Cup and I look at Ronaldo. And for me, my take is this. Ronaldo, if he wants to start, Ronaldo starts every game. I think it's clear now that he understands that he has to come out against with Al Nassr this year. A lot of times Jorge Jesus managed to convince him that he had to not play some games, not play all games, because he has to manage the physical side of it. And I think he understands that now. And I think Martinez has enough of his year to play him 50, 60, 70 minutes and then bring in another fresher pair of legs. And I think that's not going to be a problem this year like it was in 2022. And that is what I would do personally if it was my decision. However, I think there is a way that the other side can work, which is the side of Ronaldo starting on the bench maybe in a few games and coming in when the opponents are a little bit more tired. But that is with one big if Ronaldo can agree to that. If Martinez sits down with him and has a conversation and goes, look, we're going to go play against France, or we're going to go play against Brazil. You have Gabriel and you have Marquinhos on the other side. Let's get Gonçalo Ramos in. Let's start them up. We're going to keep the game close, or maybe try and go ahead in the game, and then you come in to solve it for us. You come in to see it through. I think Ronaldo could see that as a positive as well. I hope that at this stage he sees Portugal as a priority and not himself. But one thing that is very clear in my mind, if Ronaldo wants to start, I believe you give him the start, because you want to say farewell in a classy way to the player that gave everything to this national team. 1 Euros, 2 Nations Leagues, dreams that could have been shattered of going to World Cup and Euros. He put us all in his back with dreadful teams, guys, dreadful teams. Hugo Almeida was playing, man. Hugo Almeida, I'm sorry, lots of respect for Hugo Almeida, who was a better player than I ever was. But come on, when you look at the state of that national team for a few years, Ronaldo put us on our back, and we did not miss a single major tournament. It's time to say thank you. It's time to hug him. It's time to bring him in and say, Ronaldo is what you want. It has to make sense for the team. If you start, you can't play for more than an hour, 70 minutes. And I think he knows that. But you hug him and you give him the onus of that responsibility. And then he, as a captain, makes a decision. That's my opinion. And that's, you might agree, might disagree, hot take or not. That's it for me. So the Ronaldo problem is squashed there in this video. And now we advance for the next part, which is how this team is going to look like. All right, I'll try and be quick. There is 2 aspects. That is what I think is going to happen and what I believe should happen. Let's go with what I think is going to happen. 4-3-3 is going to be the basis of this team, with a little bit of a mutation at times, depending on the opponent, between a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1, where I think a 4-2-3-1, maybe Bernardo plays on the right side of that midfield. And on a 4-3-3, maybe it's going to be Trincão or Francisco Conceição playing on the right side. Okay, so but I think that's what we're going to see. And the back line, it's probably going to be Diego Costa in goal, the fullbacks Cancelo and Nuno Mendes, centre backs with Ruben Dias and Renato Veiga. The midfield is the midfield: Vitinha, João Neves, and Bruno Fernandes. And up front on the left, probably Rafael Leão. Up front, Ronaldo, and on the right, Trincão. That's what I think will happen. Question marks about Ruben Dias being starting on this first game, especially because it's not the most difficult of games, with all the respect to Congo, but I think Portugal, with one or two natural starters on the bench, will still win this game with more or less difficulty. But I think that's going to be the 11 that we're going to see at least at the start of this World Cup and throughout the group stage. And then, depending on performance, there might be a change or two. Now, this is what I would love to see, and what I think that based on form, based on the characteristic of the players, and based on the duo that I'm going to talk about at the end of this prediction, this is what I would love to see in Portugal. 1-3-5-2. Yes, I put the goalkeeper there on the formation. Respect goalkeepers. Three centre backs in Tomás Araújo, Ruben Dias, and Renato Veiga, or Gonçalo Inácio. I actually think Gonçalo Inácio probably would take the edge over Renato on a 3-back. Wing backs with wing backs, not left and right defenders. Wing backs, very important. Nuno Mendes and Cancelo. Then the midfield with a duo of João Neves and Vitinha. And then in front of them, Bruno Fernandes. And the front two for me would be João Félix and Ronaldo. And the reason why I'm saying that is precisely because of that duo. Did a phenomenal work in the Saudi League this year. Went far in the Asian Champions too. Probably should have won that game. They battered the other team, but they lost. João Félix found his stride. João Félix has to play central, but can't take the place of the number 10 role from Bruno. The way to include him is to go with 3 at the back. Take away the wingers, which in my opinion are the worst sector in this Portuguese team in terms of options. Get those 2 wing backs in Cancelo and Nuno Mendes that can impact the game offensively in all 3 levels. They can arrive, they can create, and they can be the players in behind delivering. I think that would be my desire. Would be a 1-3-5-2 with those players starting for the national team. That would be it. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I think Roberto Martinez flirted with the idea at the start, but very quickly, at the start of his tenure, before even the Euros 2022, but 2022, no, 2024. But now I think that's out of the question. It's probably going to be 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. And now let's go into the expectations of this Euros, particularly this World Cup, particularly. And now let's go into the expectations, or my expectations, for Group K, where Portugal is with Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. I think if Portugal doesn't win the group, that's a big problem. I have a problem with that. I think we should handily win against Congo and Uzbekistan, and then in a trickier match, you should beat Colombia. That's my view. Now, obviously, respect to all 3 national teams, but African teams are struggling. I think Congo will struggle as well. Uzbekistan, probably one of the worst Asian teams in the nations in this World Cup. And Colombia is not the Colombia that was the times of Cuadrado and other players like that. I think it's a different Colombia. James Rodriguez still playing. James Rodriguez? James Rodriguez. James. Let's call him James. Still playing, which is crazy. The guy must be 50 by now, but still playing. He's Mr. World Cup for Colombia, and he's going to probably play still. But the way I see it is cagey game against Congo, and we go through. Comfortable win against Uzbekistan, and then maybe a 2-0 against Colombia, where we score the first goal in a cagey affair, and then the game opens up and we kill it. I think that's what's going to be, and that's going to be Portugal finishing first of the group. Right, and that leads me to the final point of this World Cup, which is predictions. The expectation for a lot of people is that Portugal is going to win, especially if you talk about Portuguese people. They think Portugal can definitely win. A lot of people think Portugal is a contender, one of those top contenders, that group of 5 or 6 national teams that can go and make it. And then a small fringe maybe thinks that Portugal is a little bit below that, and they would be a dark horse and nothing more than that. My prediction is that Portugal is going to go really far in this competition, but might not have enough to win it all the way. And it will depend on form. It will depend on a few factors. I think the bare minimum is for Portugal to get to the last 8 of the competition. That's the bare acceptable minimum. And then if you lose in a very tight game, a game where you perform well, but the other team scores and wins and nicks it like France in 2024, or if you lose in penalties, fine. I would be okay with that. I would understand that. I don't think anybody would be like, oh my God, this is terrible, whatever. I think that would be an acceptable end for this World Cup. My heart of hearts, of course. I think there's something in me that believes that Portugal is going to go all the way and win it. My mind thinks France a little bit better. I don't see any other national team being better than Portugal. I give it a 0.01% more over to Spain just because of the experience. But then we just beat Spain in the Nations League with their best team. And Spain also has a few problems this year, as you could see on the first game where they drew against Cape Verde. So that is my prediction. I don't think I missed anything. Ultimately, look, football is football, and that ball has to go into the back of the net, and sometimes it doesn't go when we expect him to go. But I hope we all continue to enjoy this World Cup, and we continue to focus on what's happening inside the pitch. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, drop a like, leave a comment. Do you disagree with me on anything that I said on this video? Let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, do subscribe. It's just a press of a button, mate. And you're helping me. You're helping the channel get to more people. I'm not making any money out of this. I don't think I will ever make any money out of this. I'm just sharing my opinion and the opinion of my mates. But it's fun, and if it has to grow, it would be lovely to see it. So press that button, leave a like, and leave a comment. I'll see you on the next one. Looking forward to watching Portugal. Vamos seleção, para ganhar!